And welcome into Brainstorming America. We've been changed some seats here. We've got a new guest in. I'm here with John Merrill. John's over here. I can't reach him, so we got a new guest that who has to join us, and his name's Derek Chen. And some people call him a doctor, but we just gonna call him Derek. And we got a lot of things to talk about, Derek. But when you're aware of all these protests that's going on up there regarding the Hamas bombings and that kind of thing. Would it surprise you to know that those people protesting against the Jews received $37 million from George Soros?
Wow.
Isn't that something?
Uh-huh.
Why? What does he get out of putting $37 million into disrupting America with the college system?
I have no idea, but I will say this, a lot of the young people, they get to college and this certain ideology is forced down upon them, and it's not positive, and it's really a mess with our new generation on what's going on, especially on college campuses all across the country.
You mean forced upon them as by the teachers doing it, or the peer pressure?
Both. Both. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Both.
Derek, speaking of that, I think it's important for us to introduce you to the guest today. We're very excited to have you. Ken and I talked about expanding the concept of the show and to have guests. A couple of weeks ago, we had Oxford Police Chief Bill Partridge with us, and then Ken had asked me, he said, do you know somebody that we could get that could bring a different perspective to the show? And I said, I've got an outstanding candidate that we need to bring on, Derek Chen, who is a recent law school graduate at Cumberland University. He's working on his MBA at the University of Alabama now. He's from California. He's very involved in politics. I'm very excited to have him as our guest today. And so, Derek, tell us a little bit about your family's background. Tell us where you grew up, and tell us why you decided to come to Alabama.
Well, Mr. Secretary, Mr. Rollins, it's an honor to be with you. So I was born and raised in Orange County, California. My parents immigrated to this country from Taiwan back in the early 80s. During that time, there was a real threat with the threat of the communists in communist China coming in and taking over Taiwan. So everybody who could get out did, and they tried their best to get out. But it was really important to both of my parents and their families to do it the right way and go through the proper procedure. And so they spent time waiting for their visa, and once they got their visa, they immigrated to this country. And so that's where I was born, was Southern California. And then I moved to Holland, Michigan, which is a small town on the western part of the state of Michigan, right on the lake. It's about halfway between Detroit and Chicago to go to undergraduate school at Hope College. And when I was there, I studied political science and I minored in history. And after I completed my undergraduate studies,
you did some work in the Michigan legislature.
Yes, sir. I worked for State Representative Daniela Garcia. She was a Republican. She was the local state legislator for that district. And I got a lot of experience, helped her with her re-election campaign in 2016. She was reelected with 80% of the vote in the primary. And so since after I finished my time in Michigan, I moved down to Alabama to go to law school at the Cumberland School of Law.
And why did you decide to go to Cumberland to law school as opposed to any other institution of higher learning that offers a legal degree?
So the president of Hope College at the time used to teach at Samford University, and he put me in touch with the folks at Cumberland to come down for a school visit. And I came down and I just absolutely fell in love with Birmingham and the state of Alabama, the greatest state in the union. So that's why I knew I wanted to be here, just because I love the environment so much and I love the quality of life here in Birmingham.
Well, quite clearly, because of your last statement, it's evident that you're one of the smartest guests we've ever had on the show and one of the most astute as well when you talk about Alabama and it being the greatest state in the union, which it is. Tell us, why you think it's so important for young people to be involved in politics today, Derek.
Yes, sir. It's so important for young people to be involved because, you know, we're as we get older, you know, we're going to start finding ourselves in leadership positions, and we have to make sure that we're able to carry forward the successes of previous generations and not squander it. Like a lot of situations, and it's important for us to be able to take the baton and continue running with it and improving upon our society and our country.
Ken?
It's the one other reason I think the young people need to get involved in politics, so they'll know what's going on, not from where they saw on television or where they heard at the restaurant, but know for sure what's truth and what's fiction. Now, these kids that are out there protesting, many of them are protesting a bomb that hit the hospital that they said Israel did, when in fact it was Hamas. So they need to be involved so they can determine what's right and what's wrong. And if they don't get involved, they're just going to hear it from somebody down the street or whatever. They're not going to get the right information unless they get in there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to be informed as a citizen of this country. You know, we're inundated with so much misinformation, a lot of false information that you get from the mainstream media, and I think it's really important to get involved and be informed so that you can make smart decisions and wise decisions in your everyday life.
Speaking of wise decisions, we hope that you'll make one, and right after this break, you'll join us again for the second segment of Brainstorming America, and hear some more from our guest, Dr. Derek Chen.
Welcome back to Brainstorming America. Ken Rollins here, and we're sitting here with our guest today, Derek Chen, and John Merrill's on the end down there. Derek, this is for you. Cornell University had threats to slit the throats of anyone that's a Jew. How would you feel being in a school like that if it turned to where anyone of Asian descent, that we going to slit the throats? Can you imagine what those Jewish kids are feeling?
Yes, sir. I wouldn't feel good being a student of any background in that school. It's, you know, it's important in this country
True.
that we have to judge people by the content of their character and not the color of their skin.
Absolutely. Or their background or whatever. And that's I watched those kids hunkered down in a library, and the Hamas supporters, and that's what they are, beating on the door outside their library, trying to get into those Jewish students. And that's got to be horrible to do that. As we had it, when I went to Vietnam the first time I came back home, I've experienced prejudice against Vietnam veterans. If you're a Vietnam veteran, that's the worst thing you could be. And so I know what it's like to be looked down upon because of the uniform I wore. And when I was discharged from the Army after 8 years and 10 months, the officer told me, do not wear your uniform off of this post at Fort Benning, Georgia. Do not wear that uniform off here because the people out here don't like you. Think about that now. Mm-hmm. I just served my country, but I couldn't wear the uniform of my country because of protesters and people. So that's really rough. And I can think about those Jewish kids. Is it something that you yourself are watching play out in today's society that makes you want to get mad and get a hold of somebody's ear and pull them? Is it something that you have a problem with?
Well, I think something that I'm really concerned about is this pressure that you have from some aspects of society about wokeness. You see that problem with ESG right now in a lot of financial institutions, and it's a really big problem when they're trying to shove that down our throats.
Yeah. What is a woman? I saw that Carrie Lake or whatever. I think she was running for governor of Arizona.
From Arizona, yes, sir.
She was sitting on a stool milking a cow, and the New York Times reporter was standing there, and she said, "Do you know what the difference between a male and a female is?" And he couldn't come up with an idea. She says, "I'm milking a cow. You milk that bull." And I thought that's probably as good an answer as you get. You milk the bull, I'll milk the cow. John, you got anything at that leaving out of me?
You know, Derek and I had the opportunity to meet Carrie Lake at Mar-a-Lago in December of last year, and she was very impressive. And I know that she's a very conservative leader in her state and one that's going to try for elective office again. So I think she's well prepared to be successful, but continuing to communicate that message I think is very important. Derek, why don't you tell the viewers what you think can be done to try to influence and impact the way that young people think today about politics, about social issues, about becoming more educated when it comes to understanding the issues of today and why they need to be looking at things the way that you are?
So I think one thing, the most obvious answer to that question is to encourage young people and fellow young people to be informed. And it's important for them to do their research and look at actual facts instead of just opinion, personal opinion. And that's really important before you make a decision to do your homework and to actually research what's going on in the world and not just, take what you see on the news for granted. And it's important to do your own research and have a healthy sense of skepticism.
Outstanding.
One of the things that we're seeing is our college professors. When you're in college and even in high school, you look up to your teachers because they're the one that teaches. So you were taught to listen to them. And these professors are teaching everything that's against what we've learned all of our lives. They are teaching anti-Semitic things. They're teaching actually what caused the Holocaust is being taught now basically in the colleges by the professors. And so who do you listen to? Your mom, your dad, or the professor?
Well, that is a major problem, is that you have professors in institutions of higher education, people who are supposed to be authority figures, trying to insert their personal opinions in the classroom. And it's important for people to actually do their own research instead of just taking what the professor says as gospel. Because oftentimes you see that a lot. I saw that when I was going to school as an undergraduate. Oftentimes professors will try to impose their personal views, political or philosophical views on the students, and that's wrong.
Wow, that's right. And it's people like the Secretary of State that put their laws and rules out there, and he can't see me because I'm over here behind you. But John, you got anything to tag on there, buddy?
No, but I will say this, Derek, we're very excited that you chose to join us today. We hope that you will come back and be with us again. We're so thankful for your contributions to the program today. Thank you for the great job and the great work that you're doing in Jefferson County and throughout the great state of Alabama. We know you've got a very bright future, and we look forward to watching you continue to grow and develop. And we'll see you right back here for the final segment of this week's episode of Brainstorming America.
Welcome to Brainstorming America. Ken Rollins here. And my voice is about to go, and I'm sitting here with my friend John Merrill. Good to see you, John.
Thank you, my friend.
And we've talked about a lot of things. The one thing I haven't talked to you about is you've been out now from the Secretary of State position for nearly a year, right?
Yes, sir. 10 months. I've been gone from the position, Alabama's 53rd Secretary of State. Yes, sir.
He's gone. But you're still doing a lot of things you used to do.
Yes, sir. Meeting with as many leaders in our 67 counties and our 464 municipalities as I possibly can. And I've been to 57 of our 67 counties since January the 1st, and I've made 524 visits to those 67 counties to interact with our people, with municipal leadership, county leadership, utility, executive directorship, trying to help them meet their needs in the area of civil engineering concerns.
For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about there, when John was Secretary of State, he'd come up and do my other television show. And I noticed on all of his messages at the bottom, he had said all 67. And I couldn't put it together, but I didn't want to ask him because I said, it's something so right in your face that I'm going to feel stupid for asking. Finally, one day I asked him, he said, I go to all 67. Then I started tracking him. If you're on Facebook, you can see him today. He's in Demopolis. Next day, or later that day, he'll be in Mobile or wherever. And you can do his tracking. You see how he gets to all 67. And I can't think of another elected official that's ever done such a thing. Do you know of any?
Well, actually, Senator Sparkman started that when he was in the United States Senate for the 32 years
They
that he
didn't
was
have
in
cars
office.
back then.
Well, he got around though, and that trend continued when Senator Allen became the United States Senator, taking Senator Hill's place in January 3rd, 1969, and he served in that capacity till June the 1st of 1980 when he passed away at Gulf Shores. But then when Senator Shelby came after Senator Heflin, who also continued the trend, Senator Shelby, he made a living doing it. As a matter of fact, one day we were at the airport in Birmingham and we were talking, and I was telling him that I had been to all 67 counties for the last 6 years, and we talked for another 15 minutes or so, and then he came back to that and he said, John, how long did you tell me that you had been doing that? And I said, I've done it for 6 years, Senator. And he said, that's great. He said, when you've done it 30, come see me. And I said, yes, sir. And of course, he did it for 36.
Let me correct that. John has been doing that like other people for years and years and years. Thousands of.
Oh.
I was impressed.
Only our United States Senators, those are the only people that I know. So it's not something that I created. I've done very few original things in my life. Now, hashtag all 67 is original to me. It is something that I've introduced. Another thing that we did in our office when we streamlined our services is to make it easier to do business in Alabama. And I coined the phrase that in Alabama, we're not moving at the speed of government, we're moving at the speed of business, and that's what we continue to do. And then the only other thing that I created was to say that in Alabama, it's easy to vote and hard to cheat.
Yeah, well, that's true, but I just get all the places I've been, I just thinking he's going to 67. He's got to go down from Montgomery to Mobile 65. That trip is the most boring part of anything in Alabama that I can think of. There's nothing there except a couple of exits. You see Hank Williams at Old Home or whatever.
Sure.
But other than that, you get on down to where Wind Creek is, and that's
right.
about it. But that's for you to doze off and lose your, well, I got to go to 4 more counties. I know for a fact that you were down there one day and you came back to Middle Alabama later that day, and then up to North Alabama at the end of the day. So I don't find it hard to believe that you do that. The deal with Matt Gaetz, I'm jumping to another.
Yes, sir.
Matt Gaetz from Florida, where he threw his hat out there to get Kevin McCarthy kicked out as Speaker of the House. They got that where it's just one vote can do that. What is that going to do to our body in the future?
Well, I think one of the things that needs to be remembered is that the rules can change for the body depending on the people that are making the rules. It can change during the term of office. It can change each and every session of the Congress. It can change and be that way for decades. But all of those things have to be introduced by the members, they have to be endorsed by the members, they have to be embraced by the members, and when they're voted on by the members and they become the standard rules of procedure, then that's the governing rules that they have for the body during that specific period of time.
Well, we got a new speaker, and I haven't seen any changes to get rid of that, because I thought that was the most ridiculous thing, where one person could get the Speaker of the House removed from his position. I'm not saying that end to end, a lot of people are saying that also, that we come out with a better deal maybe than we had.
Well, that's one of the things that Speaker McCarthy did in order to get some votes, was to offer that as an option, where one member could simply express their displeasure and then cause chaos that we've seen in the chamber for the last 3.5 weeks, to get to the point where we finally elected a new speaker after going through several candidates, one of whom was actually in our state, Gary Palmer, who represents the 6th Congressional District. But that was one of the things that he acquiesced to change the rules for that purpose, and it actually in the end came back and bit him in the behind.
Wow. I don't know how much time we got. Did they I think I know now.
Yes, sir.
We haven't talked about your job with Wagner.
Yes, sir.
Anything changing down there that I need to know about?
No, sir. We're continuing to try to help transform communities throughout the 67 counties.
So a mayor
Yes, sir.
of Oxford could say, Mr. Merrill, we have a problem with our pollution problems here, or we have a problem with the legal part of our EPA, and they can get you guys in on it.
Absolutely, and we've been delighted to help them, as we would with
You
water
got
and
that
sewer concerns, stormwater concerns, road and bridge development design, park development design, all of those things.
Who don't need that?
Most utilities, most counties, and most municipalities need it all at some point in time. And we know you have some needs too, and we hope that you'll consider joining us again next week for the 40th edition of Brainstorming America. You have a great week, and we'll see you soon.